welcome to our podcast, where we discuss and meet with people, businesses, and trades that have motivated and inspired us along the way of creating our own business, River Road Brewing and Hops. I'm your host, Nikki Andrew, the original River Road Blonde, and this is Down River Road. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Down River Road. Thanks for joining me again. I'm here with a very good friend of mine, Pete Meades. How's it going, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. Pete's joining me today, and we're going to talk all about Pete. This is going to be an all about Pete podcast.
So set the record straight.
Yeah. Everybody listen. It's going to be a good episode. First of all, obviously, every episode we start off with one of our beers. Now, Pete's not a big beer drinker.
Anymore.
Are you going to sacrifice anymore? Yeah. He did enjoy it.
Oh, did he?
This is called Red's Maple. It's a red ale with maple syrup. It's very Canadian, just like you, Pete. Canadiana. So Pete and I met, well, I don't know. Do you even remember? Probably not.
I think it was Admiral.
It was the Admiral. You were bartending, and David and I had just hooked up. And you were bartending, and like literally I laughed the entire night, and that was when I was like, I need to know this guy. He's hilarious. And I used to compare you to Jimmy Fallon. Does that?
Wow.
I know.
Those are some funny boots.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I was like that. He just reminds me of Jimmy Fallon for some reason. I don't know why. There's just something about you that's Jimmy Fallon-ish to me. Anyway. So
I'll take it.
You'll take it. It's a compliment. It's a good compliment. He's a hilarious guy. I just kind of wanted, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you do, like so many things. So Pete was, when we met, you were a bartender at the Admiral, and then you were a bartender at the Albion.
Yeah.
At the Albion?
Yep.
Yeah. And then at the Black Dog.
Correct. Yeah.
But I don't know if there's anything in between there.
Nope.
And probably one of the best bartenders I know, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah. This compliments all around.
Yeah. I love this show.
Yeah. This is the best show
ever.
But that's not like you, that was like eons ago.
For sure.
See, it feels like anyway, we're getting old. One of the biggest things that I think is really cool is you're a marathon runner.
A bit of a runner. Yeah. I did running.
I did this small thing and I ran.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's the funny thing about running though, is like, no matter how much you run or how fast you run, someone runs further and faster. Yeah,
but that's not the point.
No, but running is probably the most humbling thing in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I love about it.
But it's inspiring how what you're doing with your running, which to me is the most important thing. So yeah, you're running, and that's fantastic, and it's good for your body and your soul and your heart. But you're running with purpose and reason as well. And last year you did this really cool thing with what was it called again? The county run, or the
county cleanup.
The county cleanup.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I think when the whole pandemic sort of was wrapping around and closing in on everyone, we were in Arizona. So my wife was running Antelope Canyon race. So it's around the rim of the Grand Canyon. So it was a 50 miler. And
just a small run.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Just out for a jaunt.
Yeah.
But she was also, we sort of rolled down right before March break. So the race was on the 14th, and, you know, the pandemic was real. It was,
I think we were all just starting to get the sense of it at that point in time. Yeah.
And so we were like, do we go? Do we not go? And we're like, well, you know, they would have canceled the race by now if it was something that, so we left on the Tuesday. The race was on the Saturday. By the Thursday, my daughter called me and she was like, yeah, she goes to Guelph, University of Guelph. And she was like, yeah, classes are done for the year. They sent us home for the rest of the year, which in my mind, I was thinking isn't that big of a deal because we're heading into the middle of March.
Yeah.
They would be out for exams the second week of April anyways. So I was
absolutely.
like, this might just be precautionary. Then they announced that the kids would not be going back for 2 weeks after March break. And I was like, still in my head, I was like, that's interesting.
Wait a second.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of time hanging out with kids. But I wasn't thinking big picture. And then I'm just sort of watching all of this unfold and trying to keep it away from Heidi, who's about to run a 50 miler the next day. And I'm like, this is bad.
Keep your mind straight.
Yeah. And I had already sort of made the arrangements that like we were, as soon as they were done, they could nap for a bit, sort of sleep off what they could of a 50-mile run. And then,
because it takes a lot out of you.
Absolutely.
Like a lot.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then I was planning like just to haul ass to the border.
To get home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our neighbor who lives right across the street from us, Nancy, she had flown into Vegas and met us at the Airbnb.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
For a moment.
Well, that's exactly it. But she had planned on going to Sedona and doing all these things, right? So I was like, in my head, I'm like, those things are not happening. But again, she was racing as well. So I was like, we'll talk about this after the race. And then the next morning after the race, her hotel was canceled, her flight was canceled, all of these things.
Oh man, yeah.
So she hopped in the car, or we drove her rental car to just outside of Denver, dropped it off. She hopped in with us, and then we
hightailed it home.
Yeah. So at that point, all of the training that I'd done was based on races that were to be in a month and a half. Right. So with that amount of fitness built and banked, I didn't really have anywhere to go. So I took on this challenge, which was great virtual race across Tennessee. So it's 1,020 kilometers, and just a little hop, skip, and a jump. Absolutely.
Nothing big.
But it opened up on May 1st, and you had to be done by Labor Day.
Right.
So I tore into it and finished in 5 weeks.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, it was, you know what, for me, it was like, it was therapeutic because there was so much uncertainty. I was just like, I just need to run. So that's what I did. And as I was running, like to break up the monotony of running the route that I usually sort of run, I had been just sort of deviating and checking out different areas. And as I did that, I was like, wow, Huron County is so massive, so beautiful. But the one thing I did notice was that there was trash and debris off to the sides of the roads. So in my head, I was like, what would be amazing is if I ran every road and cleaned as I went. So then I got together with a few friends and I was like, do you think that's possible? Like, how are we going to do this? So we mapped it out, figured it was about 3,000 kilometers.
After they decided you weren't crazy?
Yeah. Well, no, they're all just sort of.
No, I know. Yeah.
The running mentality too, which is just a bit off. And yeah, we just sort of were like, yes, it's doable. How to sort of take a chunk out of this.
Plan it out. Yeah.
And there's just no real way. You just jump into it. So that's what I did. And as that happened, sponsors just came on board. I linked up with the boys at Runner's Choice in Waterloo, who are amazing. Mm-hmm. They helped out with the shoe cost. I was going through a pair of shoes every 3.5, 4 weeks. Yeah, so that got costly. That built up.
And it's so important to have the right shoes on your feet. Yeah.
And not worn out.
Yeah.
So there was so many people that jumped on board, but these small businesses in our community, which were sort of under duress themselves, jumped in and they were like, we'll sponsor a week's worth of cleaning. And that's how it sort of went. And so we were able to, take this on, collect all the garbage and sort of separate the stuff that was recyclable and
Versus
then
garbage,
send
yeah.
away the stuff that was not actually recyclable in our municipality, which is a big part of this. As you and I have talked about this a million times.
It's a big issue.
So recycling is a business.
Yep.
Our sort of know-how about recycling in our area is what they take. It's not what they don't take.
Yeah.
So because they're, sort of a business, it's in the sense that they are taking stuff in and rifling it and selling it off to areas where they can market it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're no longer telling you what they don't take. They're just giving you a list of stuff that they now
take
take.
it. Yeah.
So there's a big misconception that if your stuff goes into the recycling, it's getting recycled, and that's just not the case.
No. Yeah, we've had a number of discussions about this, and unfortunately, I don't think people realize everything that's going on at those sites. It's not,
For sure.
Not that there's anything wrong. I get what they're trying to do, and there's a whole bunch of people trying to do the right thing there. But there is a lot, and I would say, what do you think, like percentage wise, like 50%? It's crazy the amount.
But that's the whole thing is like, if these people weren't doing this, we would be recycling nothing.
Yeah,
And
it would all be going to a landfill,
definitely-
and that would be horrible. Yeah, absolutely. It needs to happen. I just wish that people were a little bit more attentive to what can actually be recycled. And
For sure. And that was part of the process, learning about what is recyclable, what is not, what is recycled goods that is no longer recyclable.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing, that it has the recycling logo on it. It's been recycled. Well, it's no longer recyclable.
Yeah, and I think that's a misconception.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people say, well, it's got that symbol on the bottom of it.
sure.
And a lot of people, and unfortunately, the older generation don't even know. They're like, they see the symbol because at some point in their life, they were taught that that symbol means it's recyclable or has been recycled.
For sure.
And that they just think it's,
And I mean, the fact that certain things are recyclable in really sophisticated recycling plants, which we are not a part of.
Nope.
And I think that is the big misconception too, is that if something is recyclable, the likelihood of our, any of the Canadian rural areas having the equipment to do that,
actually recycle them is pretty slim.
Absolutely.
And I think that's not that they're recyclable, but that's why we researched our Green Shift cups that we use at the brewery.
For sure.
They're a compostable, biodegradable cup, but it's one of the only companies out there that will offer that you can actually just throw out and it will compost on its own. Most compostable cups or biodegradable cups are actually, they have to go to a facility.
Yeah.
And we just don't have the means to take it to a facility around here. We just don't have that ability. If you live in the city, there's a lot more accessibility to those facilities, but not in rural places. And a budget for shipment and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's pretty amazing. And I don't think people realize what you've accomplished there. Like, that's huge.
Well, it's amazing that I was able to take the time, because I was fortunate enough to be able to really dive into the time that was given to us, whether I liked it or not. I was able to do that. But I think, it was like this, it was a heavy physical toll, but it was actually like, I think I've talked to you about this. Like, it was such towards the end of September, the number of kilometers I needed to complete were winding down, and mentally I was just exhausted. Mm-hmm. I would just have like these super dark moments where I'd be driving to Goderich or anywhere, and I'd be driving down a road that I'd cleaned and seeing debris off to the side, and it was so defeating. My body was just like ready to break down. And it was just like I stopped for a month and a half and just went out and ran. And like absolutely nothing to it, but just to sort of ease my mind and get back to the thing that I loved.
And that's the thing running. Is it's running is really mental. Like it's for your mental benefit more than anything else. And physically it's amazing, but for your mental benefit, I know if you go to a psychiatrist or psychologist and you say, I'm suffering from depression, I'm having any sort of mental breakdown or anything like that, they're going to say, are you walking every day? Are you going out for a run? Because those are that ability to kind of ease your mind a little bit is so
For sure.
predominant when you're running. I miss it. We've talked about it. I'm going to be looking into getting back at it now that my back's kind of fully healed, or
Absolutely.
what I think is fully healed. We'll find out when I start running again.
Yeah.
But that for me mentally is my release.
Yeah.
That's how I get over a rough day or a rough week, or even just feeling like I can regroup and deal with my children. Like that's
For sure.
It's so huge.
I mean, that is my connection to, connecting my body and mind, and only syncing the two of those things for an hour and a half to 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Going for long runs, really stretching it out. And towards the end of my run, realizing that you're almost back to the car, or your run's almost completed. And it's literally the last 10 minutes of my run is usually just dialing in my day and planning it and sorting it and then just executing.
Yeah, which is perfect. That's what everybody needs to be doing, is just having that little time to mentally prepare themselves, and
For sure.
not in a stressful way.
Absolutely.
That's so important. So from kind of just talking along the lines of COVID, you're also very much in the music industry.
Absolutely.
Like hugely in the music industry. And it really had a hit this.
Yeah, I mean, music is arguably the only industry that was never, ever allowed to resume after March 2020. So, I mean, we've all seen, the live streams. It's not the same. It doesn't, I don't think artists are particularly fond of that sort of non-connection.
No, and
when doing it.
It's a bit of for them, it's a bit of well, I assume, I'm not an artist, but for them, I imagine it's a bit of an adrenaline situation where you're up there, you're in front of a crowd, or you're doing you're recording your album.
For sure.
All the adrenaline that happens in that, you could become a little dependent on that. And to not have that, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I think for me, like watching some Canadians, or Canada's brightest talent, just sort of, be in a holding pattern. And honestly, watching some of Canada's best talent leave the industry because they have to assume jobs on some level because there is no help. Like, I mean, there's government, the CERB was, I think, $900 every 2 weeks.
I don't know. Yeah.
That wouldn't even cover your rent in Toronto. Like, I can't even imagine the weight and the gravity of that situation for an artist.
And a lot of these artists have to live in Toronto. They have to live where they can be close to recording studios
and not a lot of them
venues.
are going to be moving during a pandemic anyway. So it's that, I think we've probably seen the end of some artists, and I hope we see the rise of a few that
we're just coming out of the woodworks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that have sort of a voice and some ideas that have come out of all of this. But I can definitely say it's definitely hit the industry super hard. All of the shows that I had booked were moved several times.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it just got to the point where even when things would open up and people would be like, hey, do you want to book? And I'd be like, not hypothetically.
No.
Like at this point, I'd just...
Because you can't. It was so unpredictable as to what, like we have worked together a few times, but we tried to get things organized, and then it was just like, nope, forget it. Nope, forget it. Like,
absolutely. There was so many layers to it, and complexities just based on a simple show and how easy it could be, but just isn't.
So a lot of people don't realize you're the co-founder of Meades Entertainment.
Yeah.
And the founder, or the, I don't know what you want to call yourself, of the Bayfield concert series.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit, like, how did that come about? What was the drive to start the Bayfield concert series or Meades Entertainment? How did that all start?
I think the sort of rise of the concert style for what I was doing was definitely it was definitely due to Ted and Kathleen.
Yeah.
McIntosh
Lovely, lovely people if you've never met them.
at the Black Dog. So when they encouraged me to book whatever I wanted at the Black Dog, and we sort of developed a music program that was, you know, it was super eclectic. Like there was so much going on. I mean, we had hip hop, we had like, it was just insane. Like we would, our New Year's party would be the salads with chocolate. You know what I mean? Like just
totally different,
random,
weird
in the weirdest small town. Like why?
Yeah.
But it worked. And, you know, they were super supportive in the way that they were like, just sort of roll out and do what you have to.
Do your thing.
So, you know, we had a lot of music going on every single week. But it wasn't a listening room. So I think the first time I had sort of we had M. Griner roll in, and she brought a young unknown opener with her, and it was Royal Wood.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. Mm-hmm. People were blown away. They were so quiet for him. And they, you know, it was just, I realized at that moment that there needed to be a shift in sort of just a room that we could do something that was specifically for the singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
And that worked in the capacity that respects people listening and not just background music.
Yeah, like you're not sitting in a bar atmosphere. You're actually sitting in
You're paying a ticketed price. You're going with purpose. So that became the Bayfield concert series. So Ted and Kathleen absolutely supported that and really pushed that to happen, you know, and it was amazing for the business too, because we would fill up the Black Dog with people that were going to the show. Yeah. Then we would fill up with people in between while people were at the show, and then everyone from the show would go back to the Black Dog afterwards.
Definitely beneficial. And it didn't, the benefits never stopped for them, for sure not.
Well, and I think for us, it was like there was such an amazing vibe, and it's like probably a time and place never to be repeated again. It almost feels like, but just because it was so special, like, you know, the Black Dog it'd be a Thursday night. There'd be only thing open. It'd be 12 o'clock, and the artist is back there hanging out with all of the people that it was super special. And I think that really got my sights sort of set on that style. And then it created opportunities to do talent buying for wineries and for theaters and all of those things, which I absolutely love doing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see it, and that's the thing, is it shows in what you do, and how the artists respect you. Because like so Pete also helps out at the brewery quite well. You work there, but we work together a lot for the concert.
Absolutely.
And they like just listening to what you say, and the artists are calling you, and you know you're dealing with their producers and their managers and all that fun stuff. But the respect that you see that they give you there's a reason for that. It didn't just happen.
Well, the funny thing is, I think the music industry is all about relationships. And I've said this before, like Ted is one of those people that had taught me very early on that, you know, success is based on many things, but the root of it all is relationships.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
I think he taught us all of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think I was able to move forward in the industry with that respect, and the relationships that I had early on are still artists that I work with very closely to this day, and that I always think of first off when someone's looking for talent.
Yeah, it's huge. And I think you're very good at creating or knowing what's going to work where. And that's like for us, for example, at the brewery, everything's outside, and we haven't, you know, you're like, this is who I think is going to work. It's not just throwing names out of anywhere. You're like, this is how, and to know all that information,
for sure,
and to hold on to that information and hold on to those relationships just kind of shows what kind of a person you are.
Well, I think it speaks volumes for the artists as well, because like you and I talked about this. I'm like, the artists that we have booked for this summer are people that I constantly work with because it's enjoyable. Yeah. It's not a business. It's completely pleasurable. but it happens to be a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
it should be.
that's, you know, that speaks volumes about the artists, and just their absolutely grounded nature. And
yeah, and I think there's a bit of a misconception, I think, with you know, when you're dealing with Juno Award winning artists, people that are a little bit higher up there. In my mind, before meeting you, I was like, oh, well, they must think they're hoity-toity and whatever, but they're not. They're super down to earth people. And from what I've heard or dealt with, or even I've done a few things at the town hall and met some musicians that way and artists. They're completely down to earth people that are just hanging out, doing their thing.
I think that's part of being Canadian. Like, that's the greatest thing about Canadian music is your favorite artist is probably doing laundry out at the laundromat beside you. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the reality of it. We're not highly populated. There's a lot. There's a big middle area.
Yeah.
In terms of you know, career and benchmarks. Like, there's only. And, you know, I think there's a lot of pluses from the pandemic. And one being that, you know, people really have been starved for music. So I hope moving forward that there will not be that place of taking things for granted, especially music. And there's sort of that era of, you know, I can catch this show next time or
that's
whatever.
Gone away.
Right? It is.
It's gone away. Yeah.
You know, like, because we're not highly populated, you have marquee artists in Canada that are battling nightly in the 5 major cities.
Yeah.
So it's tough to be a Canadian artist, I think. But I think the grit and the sort of struggle comes out in the music, and that's why
the determination. Yeah.
That's why we're superior songwriters.
I do. I agree with you. It's the stuff that comes out of Canada, Ontario, Canada, wherever in Canada, is pretty remarkable. And I think it's that extra fight that they have to do makes it that much better.
And the payoff.
Yeah.
The payoff is so minuscule. You have to love what you're doing. You have to be fully behind it and believe that the success will come, or just not care about it because you're doing what you love.
I think a lot of it's just not caring about it because you know that this is what you want to be doing, and it's not, you're not in it for the money, you're in it for the actual experience, which is amazing. Because I don't think that there's a lot of, you know, you talk to, well, I don't talk to you, you might talk to some of the artists that are, you know, in the US they're being signed by, and they're basically having their music wrote for them, and they're singing what they're told to sing. Like, I don't even know how.
Well, I mean, it's a form of business in the industry too, right? Like, I mean, just to be able to be that populated where you have an avenue to do that. I think Canadians are they have sort of a bit more grit when it comes to taste. And I think that also shines through,
which is amazing
in the music.
I love it. So the Bayfield concert series is the go. It's happening again.
Yeah.
You're excited about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Get to see people.
I know.
Yeah.
People? What?
And that's the greatest part, is like sharing a music experience with someone.
Oh, it's
is
huge.
Like, yeah. I mean, you can meet people and at a concert and be friends forever.
Which is amazing. Yeah. And it's not even just that. Like, I think I went to my first concert when I was about Michaela's age. It was Bare Naked Ladies.
No way.
Yeah, it was. That was my first. No, that's wrong. I went and saw the Yes. That was my first concert. It was with my dad. But then we went and saw the Bare Naked Ladies. And then ZZ Top and stuff like I was raised on ZZ Top and those type of artists, Eric Clapton, and anyway, doesn't matter. Pink Floyd.
The legends.
The legends. And it was funny to me, and it never really occurred to me until this year. We had taken Michaela to Good Lovely's concert at the town hall. And I didn't even think about it. And I don't know why I didn't think about it. That was her first concert.
Amazing.
And now she's like obsessed with the Good Lovelies. Not obsessed, but she like loves them. She thinks which is amazing. And to have that impression on a little girl, to see that coming through. And I'm like, oh yeah, you do share that need. Cause I need to go see shows. Like I love listening to music, but I want to see them live. And she's kind of getting that itch now. Like that's just starting to happen for her. So it's really neat to kind of see the progress and then to find out, the Good Lollies are playing at her house.
Yeah. And
Pretty amazing.
How amazing is it to be a younger girl and watch 3 powerful
amazing
girls
women
on stage own it and just do what they do.
I'm really, really glad that was her first concert experience.
Absolutely.
She got to do it in her hometown.
Yeah.
She listened to like powerful women where you could like it shows in their music.
Yep.
And they were great to her afterwards. Like they talked to her and were very, very kind. And like you don't get that experience when you go to the bigger shows, like at a big.
It's hard to, and I think that's been the strength of the series is the intimacy as far as the audience goes, but it's also the strength of it for the artist because they get to connect with the fans in a way that is so special. Like watching Dan Mangan walk into the middle of town hall, unplug and stand on a chair and play to people and make everyone move in. Yeah. Take apart all of the formation of chairs and just move into a giant circle. Like it's so powerful. Music is so powerful. And I can understand how lost people felt during this pandemic without that aspect of life.
And I'm not sure if they even really understood what they were missing until now when they're like, that's what it was.
For sure.
And I'm seeing it more and more as we're talking about these concerts coming up and the different people and how it's affecting them. People coming into the brewery and saying, oh my gosh, this is happening again. And they're just so ecstatic to see that these things are happening again and they can experience music again, which is, it is a huge thing. For me, it was always huge. Music's always been a huge part of my life. I can't play or sing anything, but I always loved to, to watch a performance. It's one of the things in my life that if I didn't have that experience, I would be not a happy person.
For sure.
And I talk with one of my previous podcasts, I talked to Leanne Kavanaugh, who's a very, very good friend of both of ours. And she had said the reason that she does what she does, or some of the reasons she does what she does, like volunteering and such, is to see the joy in people's faces.
Absolutely.
And I think that you're very similar in this way.
Yeah. I mean, for me, doing shows at the Black Dog actually started out just because there was always so many of us
hanging out drinking.
Well, there was always so many of us going down to London and KW for shows.
Oh, for sure. There's nothing around here.
Even if it's just us, that's probably worth it. You know what I mean? So it really actually started out of laziness, but it turned into so much more. Yeah. And I think the funny thing is like also, musicians, as amazing as they are, I think if we've learned anything over this pandemic, it's just how strong your production crew is. Yeah, it's huge. When you can watch well-known marquee artists like Elton John butcher his own music without the proper people in production, because your crew is half of the
for sure
element. It's just unbelievably good.
And yet I don't think you see it unless you've
no, and like proper sound, it's everything.
Yeah, which I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. And you know that. I tell you that all the time. I don't know. Sure, Pete, whatever.
But you see the people that like actually nailed and embraced the live streams. Yeah. And you saw the people that were just like, I remember watching Norah Jones and being like, who's letting her do this? Man?
Yeah, it's not good.
And
I love Norah Jones. Yeah, she's an amazing artist, but
that's, and I always want to,
you're like,
I always
want
to think of her as just amazing.
Yeah.
But
she is amazing.
The reality is, I think if you're an artist, it gives you confidence in the realness of and the rawness of someone's talent, right? Yeah. So it's like, if you're a really great artist, you're not super known. That gives you the confidence that someone else is not amazing or on point every single minute of
and they can't be.
The day. Absolutely.
It's not something that we should expect from anyone.
I think so, yeah.
So now I'm going to go back to running. I'm going to go jump all over the place.
Yeah.
You've developed a clothing line.
Yeah.
This is like beyond exciting to me.
It was based on the project that we did. So it's called Inherit the Earth.
Yeah.
ITE apparel. And, it was the next natural step to just like if you're a runner, you're constantly in search of the perfect pair of running shorts.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I am.
I didn't realize that was a thing.
It's
such a thing.
Absolutely.
I hear
Like,
it from everybody now.
I have more running shorts that I'll never wear again
Yeah.
than I do ones that I think we've created some amazing running shorts.
Yeah.
And
I've heard all good things.
they've been well received by runners that I really respect.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, we live in the hub of runners per capita.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think I forget the number, but it was 2 years ago. There was like 8 people that qualified for Boston in Goderich, just in Goderich.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And I wonder why. Like, is it the breeding here? Like,
I don't. You know what?
The water. Yeah.
There's just so many amazing places to run. Like the Guard is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's a fairly safe area
For sure.
like to run. Like there's not really any, well, as a woman anyway, I can run anywhere and I'm not like
For
panicked
sure.
about where I'm going or what's happening or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be connected with the G to G
Yeah.
is that what an amazing feat that is.
It's crazy.
It's intense.
So why Inherit the Earth? What's the name?
Well,
Where's the name coming from?
it's funny because we were talking about in times of need, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, like everybody and their brother was baking bread and planting a garden.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that was like, I want to bake bread, but I don't have time.
It just blew my mind that, you know, in times of distress and need, we still turn back to the earth to sort of take. But, you know, the project that I was doing was like, it's funny that we think that way, but we can carelessly toss things out. So it just reminded me of like a parent to a teenager where it's just, you're just taking a bashing for, you know, that duration of being a teen. But that's what the earth's like. It's just, it's constantly under attack.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea behind the name is just, you know, giving your children something to inherit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And maintaining.
That's cool. I didn't know that. That's really neat. I'm really, I did watch for the fifth time today, the commercial that you did for the clothing brand with you in it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's every time I watch it, I'm like, like it's such a,
you know, our friend, Jeff Wood from Little Big Creative out of Stratford, he approached me and they documented our run. Myself and Lee Coates of Dark Horse Endurance. We ran from Guelph to Goderich.
yeah, I remember when you did that.
And, you know, we ran through the night and they documented the entire thing. We've still yet to get together to do all of the speaking bits for the documentary, but hopefully we'll tie that up soon. But he approached me and was just like, hey, I've got this idea. I want to get into doing these small little sort of sizzlers. And I was like, yeah, cool. Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
But I was blown away with what he came up with. I mean, they're unbelievably talented guys.
It's a really cool, it's just, it is a breath of fresh air. Like watching it, you're like, oh yeah, that's
For
cool.
sure.
It's inspiring. Which is probably where you meant to go with it.
Well, you know what? It's bizarre because seeing the final piece, it was so pieced together. I really had no idea really what his direction was. Like I had a general vibe, like we had watched some of the Solomon and some biking ones. So I checked those out and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But they're all like sort of quasi inspiring. You know what I mean? They're just like made to want to get you out of your chair. And
really, it's more like the scenery in the background.
It's
more
stunning.
than anything else. Yeah. For me, it was anyway. I was like,
guaranteed.
That's a
I
great
mean, and that's the other thing. Like we, you know, rolling out on that project, I was in places in Huron County that were an hour away.
Yeah.
Huron County is massive.
Yeah.
It's not something that I ever really thought about in those terms, but I was driving an hour to go run for 6 or 7 hours and then another drive an hour back. Right.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was intense that way. But
running for 6 or 7 hours is intense in itself.
I was in the middle of nowhere, and these beautiful Amish sort of Mennonite areas.
Yep.
And I was, the weird thing is I was listening to like Crime Junkie podcast yes. And I was like, it's so beautiful. And then I just kind of look around and I'm like, if anyone made me disappear here, no one would ever know. No one would ever know.
No, man. I know. That's maybe not the thing you listen to as you're in the middle of nowhere.
I slowed my roll after that, but
that's not.
It was, it's breathtaking. Like there are so many areas in Huron County, like I said, that I'd never been to before, but were just stunning. So I took probably 3 to 4 pictures a day on that trek. So I want to put together an album, and my friend Redan, he wants to put together like an album of photos and put it out there.
Yeah. So I think that would be great. It needs to go in a book.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like a coffee table book. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. So the clothing line's doing well.
Absolutely.
You're loving it. Yeah. I keep seeing new stuff coming out. So these shirts.
Yeah.
These
absolutely.
are new.
They're not even online yet.
I know. See it. Haha. I love it. And they're really comfortable and they're amazing. The hats are awesome. I see them everywhere. Like everywhere I go, I see your stuff.
Yeah.
Everywhere. I see it like all the time. I'll be at the brewery and I'll be like, there's another one of Pete's shirts. Oh, look, there's another one of Pete's hats. Look at that.
And I think there's such a strong running community that that it was just like, even if it was niche here, it's big enough here that it looks successful when you see it around. But
it's successful. It's successful. You're doing good.
We've had a lot of wins, and it's such a learning curve on jumping into something that's sort of uncharted territory for me. But we've had a lot of people in the know that have propped us up and really helped us along the way, and that's made things a lot easier.
And that's what it's all about, really, is having those right people that are willing to help out and make it all happen, kind of like how you do with us. Because we wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now if it wasn't for you.
It's a good partnership, that's for sure.
It's a lot of fun. And I do have a lot of, it's like I always say, there's certain people that you meet in your life that they kind of change things for you slightly, or alter your opinion on things, or move you in a different direction. And you've definitely done that for me.
I appreciate
just a lot of respect, and you're very inspiring to me. So I just want you to know that. I know, I'm going to cry.
I know. We're both going to get emotional here.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate everything that you're doing. If you want to know more about Pete and your clothing line, you can see it on Inherit the Earth online, right? Yeah. Also, there's a number of things you can look at. You can see what you did with the run, the county run that you did. There's a number of articles on that. There's a lot of information of you online, just so you know. Not that I was stalking you or anything. I just wanted to make sure I had all my facts straight.
For sure.
Because, I get half stories all the time. But thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Anytime.
Tune in again, guys, probably in the next couple of weeks for a new podcast. Cheers.